Today's story comes from the Am I the A-hole subreddit and was posted by Rodikins and was titled, Am I the A-hole for telling my mom I won't be the good kid for free anymore? First off, this is one of my first posts, so please forgive me for any mistakes. So some context. My mother has 2 children, me, 24 female, and my younger sister, 15 female. Her and my dad were never together, but when she got pregnant with my sister all those years ago, she married my stepfather out of wedlock. My stepfather is much older and was pretty wealthy at the time. When my mother decided to marry my stepdad, she packed me up and moved us 4 hours away from my grandparents, my primary caregiver since I was born, and my dad. I won't get too far into what my life was like after I moved in, but it is worth mentioning I suffer from diagnosed CPTSD and severe anxiety from my years of living with them. My sister never had a chance. From a start, she's been spoiled. Not just spoiled, spoiled rotten. As the years went on, I tried to tell my mother and stepdad that she would not just grow out of it like they said she would. I've had friends compare her to Veruca from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. She screams, throws things, hits people, threatens to lie to Child Protective Services, calls our mother a whore / fat cow / depressed loser, and calls her father an old man. For heaven's sake, she called her 95-year-old grandmother an old bitch and stomped on our other grandmother's foot. She is out of control. What is done about this? Well, their idea of discipline is nothing. Her dad is considerably older and doesn't want to make her hate him for the short amount of time he has left with her. So he leaves the discipline to our mother, who is mentally very unstable and crumbles easily. Because my sister is so outwardly difficult, I've always been revered as the good child. To be clear, me being the good child included my silence and compliance. I had to be responsible and mature for my age because my stepdad and mother were not. Because of this and some guilt, my mother and stepfather have always overly relied on me. I'm the one who placates, who mediates, who tried to parent their kid, but was constantly undermined. It caused me to have several severe relationship issues as an adult. After high school, I moved out and went to college. I attended therapy and started to learn that my people-pleasing from living with them was crippling me. So I've slowly started stopping. The last key component to the context is that my mom and stepdad do not support me. Even when I lived with them in high school, every dime for lunch money or new clothes came from my grandparents. Even my car was given to me by my grandparents at 18. They've paid 1 semester of my junior college, roughly $2,500, and to their credit, they did pay for my braces when I was 10. However, this pales when compared to the $10,000 a semester they spend on her private school tuition, her $1,000 monthly allowance they put on her debit card, her new Porsche, which she can't even drive yet, plus so much more. My mother even asked me to give up my birthday last year to attend my sister's cheer nationals in Florida, which I did to be a good sister, but there was no such thing for me when I was in high school. For the record, I understand most of this money is my wealthy stepdad's. I am not delusional to the fact that I am not his kid and therefore shouldn't expect support from him. However, they expect me to support them. Now I'm ahead. I've always relented and gone to my mother's house on Christmas Eve to wake up and open gifts Christmas morning because it's important to her, but I don't believe I'm there because she wants me to be, but mostly so I can mediate. My sister always makes a spectacle of Christmas Eve. Last year, our mother put $4,000 worth of gifts under the tree for her, and me both and my sister was not happy with a single gift that she asked for. I'm talking screaming, throwing gifts in the trash, biting, scratching, all at 14 years old. Christmas Day has always ended in screaming and tears. I hate Christmas because of this. This year, I wanted to spend it with my grandparents and see my dad over the holiday. This was not taken well. I get told by my grandmother that I'm the only thing keeping my mom sane. It was implied a good kid would want to spend time with her family and sister on Christmas, and I told her that my younger sister has gotten so much more than me, money, opportunities, support, etc., and she gets to be horrible to our mother and get rewarded for it. Why should I be a good kid if I'm not getting anything in return? Why should I spend a holiday with family that makes it horrible over my grandparents who are actually supporting me? My grandma said that this was a horrible thing to say. She begged me not to say this to my mother and to just put up with it. This is not how my grandparents raised me to be or think, but it's not so much about the money as it is just the blatant usage of me. Some part of me feels greedy and spoiled for being upset over the difference in support, but somehow it still just feels so wrong to keep giving in to them. What is keeping me at bay is that my grandparents have never steered me wrong. But I sometimes wonder if what was done to me gets forgotten about because my mother is mentally ill and does suffer, and my sister is like this because it's all she's ever known. I can't help but feel like I can't relent on this one, though, that my boundaries are being trampled. So, am I the a-hole for wanting to say this to my mother? If yes, what else do I do? Thank you in advance for reading. Verdict: not the a-hole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, you want to be paid to go to her house for Christmas? Look, go be happy. But that is just not a good move, essentially losing all class and character and blackmailing for your attendance. Just don't go. Not the a-hole for not wanting to go, but you would be if you played that pay me card. Oprah replied, I'm not asking for monetary gain. I'm asking them to stop using me as their support, financial, emotional, etc., when they haven't shown me any since I moved in with them at 10 years old. It's always been this big deal of, well, you came out of it a better person and they can't help it, and you're out of it now, but I'm still suffering from the damage they caused. My sister suffers. My grandparents suffer. They suffer. But instead of owning up to anything, they'd all rather pretend to have another happy Christmas. I'm ready to bring everything to a head, but then comes the hard truth. I can't be the golden child with nothing in return but misery. Commenter 2 says, which grandma is this? Why doesn't she support you being independent from your mother and trauma? You won't have them forever. Why do they want you to spend the time with them who love you rather than with your spoiled sister? Oprah replied, these are my maternal grandparents. Although my grandpa is not my blood grandpa and not my mom's biological dad. Her dad denounced her on his deathbed. My mother has always had this jealousy when it comes to my grandparents, my grandma in particular. When under the influence, she's told me several times, I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you needed, or I'm your mom, not her. My grandmother, I think parents from guilt a lot for my mom because she's mentally ill and was an addict. We all sympathize with my mom and her situation of not being stable and stuck in a marriage we don't think she'd ever choose to be in now. However, I for some reason get the brunt of bearing the emotional load. My grandma does try to lessen it, but my mom wants me because having me around lessens her guilt, I believe. Commenter 3 says, I get that another part of the problem is that your grandparents are asking you to do this to support your mother, their daughter, I'm guessing. It might be worth explaining that you need a break or you're going to snap, and you don't want to add more drama to an already fraught situation. Frame it as a temporary break to your grandparents, just to get some breathing space until your mother's current family unit finds a new balance. That will probably end up being never, but at least it gives you time. And if they insist, suggest that they go and support your mother while you spend Christmas with your dad, if they want her load ease so much. They don't want to deal with your sister either, so that should help them understand what they're asking you. Oprah replied, yes, this is a big part of the problem. My grandparents have done so much for me that they shouldn't have had to do because I'm not their child, yet they did. I will forever be indebted to them, and if they ask anything of me, I agree without hesitation. So what this situation really boils down to is that if I'm not there, the drama and emotional burden falls on my grandmother. She's elderly, sickly, and I just can't let that happen without some sort of plan. Update 1. I took a lot of advice from my original post. Just felt like I should update things on here and get some advice in turn. Christmas went unexpectedly well, but not for the reasons one would think. I ended up not saying anything harsh to my mother. I stayed with my grandparents as long as I could, then made the 3-hour drive up to mother and stepdad. My stepdad's family has always been so kind and treated me like family, so I enjoyed going over there and spending time with them. My mother and stepdad left the get-together early on Christmas Eve. Come to find out, my sister had opened all of her gifts earlier that day before I got there. When she realized she didn't get everything she wanted, she took a couple of my presents and threw them in the pool. Luckily, I asked for a lot of cat toys for my cats, and those are the things she threw in, and they were fine after they dried. I spent the night with my mother and stepdad while my sister stayed with her aunt and cousins, and I opened my presents peacefully on Christmas morning before heading to see my dad. All things considered, it was a nice holiday compared to the others we've had. What comes after is unfortunately not an improvement. It seems like my sister's behavior is on a steady decline. For some context, last year my sister messaged me with a picture of her with a fat lip saying her mom hurt her. I was so angry, I called her aunt to pick her up and told her she was not allowed to go back, and if they had a problem, I would call the cops. When talking to my mother, she had a severe black eye where my sister had attacked her. I didn't care who started it. I just thought it should never have had to escalate to that. She spent the summer with her aunt. Child Protective Services investigated and found no abuse in the home. Both my mom and sister went to therapy. My sister wanted to go back to her parents before school started. Now, presently, my sister has learned that she can abuse our mom and get away with it. I have gotten 3 phone calls where I've seen my mom with black eyes, scratches, or marks from my sister. I've witnessed her snatch a wig off my mother's head and rip her hair out. My mother lacks confidence because her husband insults her on the daily, and my sister will destroy anything that could bring her confidence. I've witnessed her pour Starbucks into my mom's makeup bag, cut her wig, etc. She's thrown glass mugs at my mother too. The last phone call I got from my mother was her with another black eye, and she said that my stepdad tried to spank my sister, but she just rolled her eyes. Apparently, he took her phone away too, but only for 2 hours. My stepdad does not stand up for my mother, and she has no power and no money to enforce over my sister's head. My sister says they can't do anything either, or she'll call Child Protective Services on them. When my mother called me this last time, I basically just shrugged and told her I didn't know what else to tell her. Send her to boot camp, a mission trip, turn off her phone, something. But it's all things I've said before. I've toyed with the idea of getting the law involved. But how seriously do they take child-to-parent abuse? Why be the a-hole if I did that? Any advice is appreciated, and thanks for reading my vent post. Edit. Going no contact is almost impossible. I owe my entire life to my grandparents, and if I go no contact with my mom/stepdad, the burden falls onto my grandmother, who I'm sure my mom would hound to get to me. I am taking steps to go low contact, though. Edit 2. Just found out my sister's aunt, my stepdad's sister, was told about the abuse from my mom. My aunt would like to hold a meeting and intervention with the whole family, me and the parents included. I will not be part of the disciplining process, but I absolutely will be giving my 2 cents on everything. Come to find out, it's my aunt paying for my sister's very expensive school, and she's now threatening to pull her from that school if she does not agree to a 6-week anger management outpatient thing. My sister is incredibly snobby and has said before she'd rather die than go to public school. She also loves her cheerleading team. I will keep updating. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, not the a-hole, but get your mom to put up hidden nanny cams in her house, so the next time your half-sister hurts her, it's on camera. And when half-sister pulls the Child Protective Services bullshit again, your mom will have footage in case she does call them. She can also take the footage to the police and press charges. Maybe juvenile detention or jail will teach the spoiled brat she can't just get away with everything. Oprah replied, I've been telling my mom to record her at least what she says in voice memos, but my sister gets my mom in such a tizzy, she forgets to do it in the moment. I have a couple of recordings, but just of her being insanely bratty and mouthy. Nothing legally incriminating, sadly. A secret cam might do the trick if I can convince my mom to put it up. Commenter 2 says, it sounds like your mother is desperate for your help. Maybe even a way out, even if that only means a roof and 4 walls. Oprah replied, I have tried to help as much as I can within my means. She doesn't want the advice or solutions I give her. She doesn't want to bring up the problem to anybody or do anything drastic, which I realize is also a pattern of abuse, but there isn't anything else I can do. I called Child Protective Services before. They found no abuse. If I called the cops, they'd all pretend like everything was fine. Commenter 3 says, this is really just a sad situation. The only way I can really see to fix this is to have your mother and stepdad divorce, to just sever the tie of your awful stepsister. Or send her to a camp, but it's very unlikely. The way you're feeling is very real. You're burnt out from trying to put out fires on someone else's house. Unfortunate, but not your problem. Your mother's getting beaten by a child, and your stepdad wants a brat to like him before he dies. If you can't step away from the situation, at least protect yourself emotionally. And understand that really there's nothing you specifically can do to fix other people's lives. Hope replied, through therapy, I have begun the process of peeling away emotionally. I will always have sympathy and compassion for my family, for anyone, but I've realized there's nothing more I can do. I've come to terms with the fact I might have to always keep this part of my family at arm's length to truly be able to breathe. These are the final steps to keeping it that way until they change something. The sad part is my mom had made changes by leaps and bounds. She's quit alcohol, quit abusing her pills, gone to psychotherapy, and gotten her bipolar under control and stuck to it, etc. She is so much more controlled, and my sister and stepfather bring out the worst in her still for their benefit. Commenter 4 says, if you're in the States, many states have elder abuse laws. It sounds like stepdad qualifies. Not sure about mom. In Florida, it's a felony. Hope replied, if I got them involved, my stepdad and mom would play dumb and deny everything. They're too embarrassed to bring shame upon themselves from what they've raised, sadly. Update 2. Hi, I'm hoping this is the best sub for this question because the mental health one has a character limit, and I feel the details are important. So for some background, me and my mom have had a tumultuous relationship my entire life. My grandparents raised me primarily, but my mom and dad were always around. At around 10, my mom married my stepdad after getting pregnant with my half-sister, and we moved to a big city. Age 10 to 18 were the worst years of my life, and I suffer CPTSD from it. Alcoholism and drugs played a huge role. I have another post from several years back talking about my sister and how awful she was. Since then, stepdad's family has stepped in, and she's been living with them. My mom and stepdad still see my sister almost every day, her choice. The past couple of years have been tentatively better since my sister moved out and they took my mom to a psychiatrist. They diagnosed her with some things, not sure what, and told her she had significant gray matter in her brain. She got on medical marijuana and sleeps most of the time when at home. She has severe ups and downs, but overall seems less aggressive than when I was younger. There were a couple of episodes when I was around 16 where she took Ambien, prescribed, and had awful hallucinations. These handful of times I witnessed, it was honestly horrifying. My sister was young at the time, and my stepdad never wanted to deal with it. So he'd just go to bed, which my sister slept in with the two parents. My mom would talk about clowns dancing on the ceiling. She tried to bust out our windows to let the little people in, and the last time I heard her whispering something about a knife, and no, she couldn't do that. The last time I took my sister upstairs and locked the door to my room, to which she tried to bust the door down and scratched on the door until 4 to 5 in the morning. She apologized that day and took me out from school so I could rest, but she didn't remember any of it. Fast forward to now. Our relationship has built back up the last couple of years. My sister is headed off to college, and I think has seen how her dad is just as big a culprit about her upbringing as our mom. My mom called me last night. We had a very normal, nice conversation for 10 minutes, but she was happy. I actually told my boyfriend, that's the happiest I've ever seen my mom when she's called me, because usually she's upset or crying or high on marijuana. Then it is today, Monday, and at work around noon she calls me. I don't answer. She texts me, answer, it's important, so I call back. She tells me, well, this is really weird and I'm still processing all this, but your uncle has brain cancer and they've given him 9 months to live, and your grandma has the same thing. So I ask, Grandma also has brain cancer? And she says, well, hers is because she had an ear infection as a child, or something along those lines. She was incredibly detailed, saying how her siblings sat her down, and she was the last to know. They told Grandma, but she had already forgotten it. They told my uncle's kids, and that her sister wanted to dig in her medical history. And she said no, so they fought about it, and she cried. Obviously, I'm summarizing, but I fully believed her. I thought she was embellishing, but believed the bad news. I told her I was going to call my aunt, and she said, yes, do that, because I'm also confused. And she sounded like she was about to cry. Before that, it sounded like she was in shock, not a ton of emotion. So I called my aunt, and she told me nobody on their side of the family had talked to my mom in a month, and it was all a lie. Obviously, even though I called to confirm, my thoughts went wild because my deepest, darkest fears of my grandmother not being alive to see me get married or have kids was told to be coming true. I was sobbing a call booth in an open office at my job. I called my stepdad. He had left her in the house to go out and do business, and through him and his sister got some details. She had a similar episode a month prior when my sister graduated high school. That lasted around a week. My stepdad said at one point he walked out and his gun was retrieved from its hiding place and was laying in the living room, and that she also turned the car on in the garage and left it running all night, so it was full of carbon monoxide. He said she has no recollection of any of these things. She has threatened to be suicidal before, but has been very fake about it. For example, saying she's going to commit, taking a bunch of pills in front of us, and then spitting them behind a lamp. So obviously I'm very alarmed. I insisted she go to a hospital, and he said the family will handle it. Him and his sister say he started managing my mom's medicine. His sister is a psychologist. She supposedly figured out the last episode was from medicine overuse or underuse, but he must have slipped because she had a month of being good. I could say so many things, but my stepdad has no backbone with these sorts of things. He has no spine with his daughter and no spine when it comes to his wife. He's just riding by. My mom has had multiple interventions in my life, the latest leading her to use medical marijuana over buying prescription pills off the street. She has a long history of stealing, using her 30-month supply in 1 to 2 weeks, and then being off her rocker, etc. I'm truly at a loss. I want to help her, but no help might not be something I can give. She is aggressive when it comes to seeing doctors, or when she thinks we're going to commit her. I don't know what legal options I have. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. I plan on talking to her when she comes out of this episode and saying how awful it was to be told that, especially in the middle of my workday. I want to believe she'll feel bad and try to get well again, but me and my sister haven't been enough for her to change our entire lives, so why start now? Another tidbit. My aunt mentioned this might be for attention. While I don't believe it is purely by the details she described, she used to get drunk and tell me she was dying of cancer when I was a middle schooler. She's well known to make up atrocious lies. I like to believe if she's not drunk, she doesn't, but I could be proven wrong. Also, my dad and mom have rekindled a friendship the last year or so. I spoke to him, and he mentioned he would talk to her and be the bad guy and tell her what she doesn't want to hear if I didn't do it. She might listen to him too. Thanks in advance for any advice. It's very appreciated. Relevant comment. Commenter says, this is way above Reddit's pay grade, but if she's leaving cars running in the garage and guns are being moved around, then your stepdad, not stepping up, is actively dangerous for everyone involved. Hope replied, I agree. I'm not sure what I could do legally if I can force his hand. She was talking to me like she was completely sane, and with her reluctance to go to the hospital, I'm not sure she couldn't talk her way away from it.